In an ironic twist of events, I've forgotten how to attach the mic to a proper collar. Hi friends! Welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing as well as you can be. Today I'm going to be talking about how to handle memory loss and its sassy, equally unwanted cousin, brain fog. But first, if you're new to my videos, welcome! My name is Gina and I make videos on disability, chronic illness, neurodiversity and fashion. Bet you couldn't tell where that was going. Everyone needs some light relief, okay? Please feel free to subscribe if you want more tips and tricks from your vintage aunt, or you just want to see what the heck is going to be in the background of every video, because I like making extra work for myself. So I have a fun combination of memory loss and brain fog due to chronic fatigue syndrome and suspected ASD. And boy, when they get together, that is one unpleasant family reunion. Especially for someone who's maybe a little too obsessed with organisation and planning and feels that memory loss and brain fog impede my ability to stick to the plan. So first off, what do we mean by these terms? For me, the little tyke of brain fog scampers in on days when I am especially tired due to chronic fatigue syndrome. It has a fun laundry list of symptoms, including the following. I have notes. Poor concentration, feeling confused, thinking more slowly than usual, fuzzy thoughts, which sounds cuter than it is, forgetfulness, lost words, and mental fatigue. Doesn't that sound fun? Similarly, memory loss, or forgetfulness as it was termed there, is, you forget stuff. And sometimes when I try to tell people who don't have memory loss as a symptom that I have memory loss, they'll say, "Oh yes, I have that too. I always forget one or two things on my shopping list." But for me, I just cannot retain random requests to do something or lists of things in my brain, like at all. Like that request has fully disappeared from my brain the moment after I agreed to do it, which is probably why I've stopped agreeing to do it. That is, when I remember not to agree in the first place. Like just last weekend, Kieran, my partner, asked me to tell him when a timer in front of me reached 30 minutes, and like he literally put the timer right in front of me on the table. I was clearly exhausted because I forgot to say, "Sweetie, don't be ridiculous." But instead, I agreed, only for my memory to be jogged when he came over to check it himself. Similarly, my mum will sometimes ask me to bring something down with me when I come downstairs in like 30 seconds, and I only really remember when I walk in and she asks me where it is. Once again, poor judgment, folks. It's nice that you think you can rely on me to remember things, but I can't. At this point, I have accepted that memory loss and brain fog are just a part of how my brain works. Instead of fighting against it, I've devised some handy tips to cope, and I hope they can be helpful for you too. So let's get into the tips. Tip number one is to plan. Now this is perfect for me because I feel genuine glee at the thought of getting out a planner and making a color-coded list, but I recognize this isn't the same for everyone. If planning isn't usually your thing, but your tasks are getting straight up forgotten, start slowly. Get yourself a planner and enjoy that process because there's bound to be one that matches your personality. Or if you prefer to do it electronically, download an app like Google Calendars and start planning. You can start by earmarking one day or night a week for marking in those big tasks on your upcoming week's schedule. So you could take Sunday evening as your planning evening, for example. Carve out 15 to 30 minutes and add in any big tasks or appointments into your planner for the next week. You can go as big or as small as you want with what kind of items you schedule in. You might want to start by adding things like appointments or birthdays or big events that you're due to go to. A tip I like to use is adding in smaller daily tasks on a post-it note rather than writing them directly into my planner on a specific day. Why? Because chronic fatigue loves to destroy plans, and that way, if there's a task that I'm simply not going to get done that day, I can just pick up the post-it note and move it to the next day. This avoids a lot of crossing out. And maybe no one else would know that there's a crossed out plan under that carefully placed washi tape, but I would know. Tip number two is to use reminders. I dread to think about the amount of stuff that I would forget to do if I couldn't use a smart speaker or my phone's smart assistant to remind me of things that just randomly popped into my head, especially when it's 1 in the morning, because apparently that's a great time to remember my obligations. These kinds of reminders are great for spur of the moment things popping into your head or popping up in your daily schedule, and it saves you from having to drag a physical planner around with you, because as much as I love planners, my bag's heavy enough, thank you very much. I even sometimes use these kind of reminders to remind me to send a message to a loved one who's having a difficult day or facing a particular challenge, because that kind of thing would just get lost in my planner. That's the secret of being a thoughtful person, folks. Reminder alerts. Tip number three is to tell your loved ones. It's like a coming out for your brain. I realize this might sound unnecessary, but in my experience, it is not. People tend to casually say, could you remind me to do this? Or could you remind me to come back here and buy that thing? And you don't need the personal disappointment of seeing their little expectant faces crumple in on themselves just a little bit because you've forgotten to remind them of the thing. Again, through no fault of your own, of course. Hopefully once you tell your loved ones that you have brain fog and memory loss, they will stop asking these things of you. It might take more than one attempt, but hopefully they will get there. They will hopefully also start to understand what's going on if you're having trouble word finding. Like when I'm standing there wildly gesturing to a thing that I've forgotten the name of and I need the other person to help me out. Straw! It's a straw! Thanks to everyone who does that for me regularly. Tip number 4, and this is a brain fog specific tip, is to do what you reasonably can. It's easy to say to yourself, I'm gonna push through this brain fog and write that article. Nothing will stop me from finishing this complicated puzzle. I'm gonna write that dissertation conclusion no matter what. Please don't do that. Please. There are certain things that it's just not a good idea, nor is it really possible to do on a bad brain fog day. Of course, this is tough because we all want to accomplish our tasks and some things just do have deadlines. But if it's possible to seek an extension on a deadline, it's definitely worth doing that. For example, I tried to push through and film my previous video on a bad brain fog day and it was not good, people. It was not good. Editing me would have had a much harder time and it just wouldn't have been as good to watch. So even if I could have used that subpar brain fog footage, I'm glad I chose not to. The second take of that video was way better. I was able to speak more clearly and more easily remember the things that I had to say, because nothing is frustrating than constantly being like, what was that? God, why can't I say this sentence? I wrote it. If I were an actor, my most common line would be, line. Sometimes it's better for everyone for you to wait until you can do a task to a standard that you're happy with. You'll thank yourself in the long run. Tip number 5, if I've numbered these correctly, which I might not have, is to be kind and accept yourself. Whether your brain fog or memory loss is a result of a physical condition or a mental condition, it is not your fault, and nor is it your choice. And that's something to remember, especially when you're feeling guilty for not being able to remind others or forgetting to do things for others. The symptoms can definitely be frustrating, and it's okay to be angry sometimes if you're struggling to do things or really show the world what you're capable of doing to the standard that you're capable of doing it because your brain just says no. The best thing you can do is to use strategies that help you cope and to lessen the impact of these symptoms on your life. Humans are extremely good problem solvers, and we can use those skills to help make our lives easier when we're dealing with some of these issues. Hopefully these tips can help you, and if you have any more, I would love to hear them in the comments below. How do you cope with brain fog? Because there are definitely days where I'm just like, it's not happening. I can't do that today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video was genuinely helpful. Feel free to click that subscribe button if you'd like to stick around for more videos on disability, chronic illness, neurodiversity, fashion, lifestyle, whatever I think of, because this is my little corner of the internet and I have a lot of interests. I hope you're doing as well as you can be, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Love and spoons. Oh gosh, it's like they've welded to my face. Oh gosh.